Now, we always hear this phrase, don't we, about levelling up. Apparently, the government really cares about the people in the North and the Midlands and wants us all to be equal and our opportunities. Is that going to happen? Don't know, not anytime soon, we shall see. But one of the key components of these proposals has always been about the railways. Obviously, you've got HS2, you've got Northern Powerhouse Rail. People will be talking about how to connect the East and the West. But is it going to happen? There's apparently lots of concern now that it isn't. The Independent reports that local transport bosses are now expecting to receive a pared-back version of the Northern Powerhouse Rail scheme, and that plans for the high-speed cross-country link through the East Midlands are going to be scrapped. Well, joining me now to discuss this is Debbie Francis, who's the chair of the Lancashire Enterprise Partnership. Good evening to you, Debbie. I'm sure you don't welcome this news.
No, not at all. I think the lack of firm commitment, the opportunity with the government being in Manchester last week to make a possible announcement that was real positive for the North was obviously lost. And I think there's now, increased speculation as to whether we're actually going to get the full programme that has been proposed. And to be fair, committed to by Boris Johnson back in when he first got elected.
So what's going on in your mind, Debbie? Why do you think this is happening? Because we hear all the narrative. You mentioned the Tory party conference last week. There was a huge segment there about levelling up. Boris is apparently very passionate about it. So what do you think is going on here?
It's not for me to second guess exactly what's going on behind closed doors in Parliament, but clearly, we are aware the country is facing issues in respect to the amount that's had to be spent over the last few years as we've gotten through the COVID crisis. Clearly, the pressure is on the Treasury, and I think there's been an awareness that there's always been that pressure between Boris Johnson's promises for levelling up and commitment to infrastructure spend and the Treasury's pockets in regards to releasing that money. And I think that that's just what's happening to us now. The difficulty is, of course, it's really short-sighted. The investment in infrastructure is not money that's just being frittered away. It's not leaving the country. It's being invested in infrastructure in the UK, which provides jobs, it provides growth, it provides opportunities. And here in the North and the Midlands, it's been far, far harder hit by COVID. That's been accepted by everybody. So this is a great opportunity to actually help us recover from COVID better while helping us to level up. If that investment's not done, the whole levelling up idea just falls at the first hurdle.
That's what I was about to ask you. What will be the impact if these projects don't go ahead in the way that they were anticipated to?
At the moment, the current network system across the parts of the North are either not connected or are over capacity as they stand. There isn't you can make small tweaks to things along the way, but that isn't going to make a whole scale change. That is not going to release the type of capacity that's needed to encourage businesses to invest and grow and develop so that they can connect. So any paring back of it just isn't going to meet the growth requirements and the development that's needed. There's a business case that supports both the HS2 Eastern leg and the East-West rail link, and it's an integrated system, so it can't be one and not the other, or the other without both of them. The benefits have to be realised by doing both of them. That business case stands up with the full investment. If we start to scale back and you start to cut out parts of this system, it won't work as an integrated system. It won't provide the same capacity. You can't it's like putting a sticking plaster on something. And it's just not going to be effective. They're talking now about the possibility of missing out Bradford. Well, Bradford's on the direct line between them. There's no reason to miss that out. There are 500,000 people in Bradford, and they're one of the most deprived areas in the country. So if they're serious about levelling up, then, why would you say we're not going to do the Bradford interchange?
And then what would you say to viewers that might say, well, hold on a second, this whole infrastructure project has been very long in the making, the business cases, etc., have been on the table for many years, and life perhaps has changed now. You mentioned COVID, people don't commute to the bigger cities the way that they once did. So do you think that there's any call at all to revisit this entire business case for all the different component parts and perhaps make changes?
In all honesty, I absolutely don't. One of the things I think you've got to remember is that the trains, the public transport overall, and trains in particular, were hugely under capacity. They've been growing consistently for decades now. So they were already absolutely jam-packed. We don't know exactly how people are going to go back, but if you've been on the network at all over the last couple of weeks, you'll see that the trains are beginning to get quite busy again. People are beginning to get back. It's quite nice. They're not so busy that you have to stand up for your journey. You can actually sit down now, which is pleasant. But they are beginning to come back. And I don't think that we can start guessing what people are going to do in the next 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. Remember that, our current infrastructure has been in place for 200 years. This one that we build is going to be in place for 200 years. So it's not something that we have to worry about whether the use is there, next year or the year after. The use will come back. Furthermore, of course, I don't know if, it's not just about passengers. There's a huge growing demand for freight on the railways. And this is a really big positive environmentally in respect to the carbon neutral agenda. It's a massive requirement and there's no capacity for freight. So those systems that may or may not in the short term be needed for passengers could always be adapted for freight because there's a serious lack of paths.
OK, Debbie Francis, thank you very much for your time.